Good morning. I'm Denise Dryden. Thank you for joining this live presentation or clicking on it on any of the YouTube or LinkedIn that you're watching. For those of you who know me, I am a coach and I've worked for the last 25 years in the therapeutic industry. So, you know, there's this plethora of information about DSM and psychological issues, yet I'm not trained in that field. What I am trained in is in the energetic signatures of these things. So I break it down out of the energy, out of how to change the patterns, how to transform it. So when I'm talking about trauma today, I'm coming at it from an energetic perspective. So today I want to talk about identifying the energy of trauma. Okay, so first and foremost, trauma comes from the Greek word, which is a physical wound. Trauma means wound, and it was traditionally thought of as in the physical, and then later through psychology and whatnot, it's been added as also an emotional wound, which means that it can leave us with some psychological symptoms of emotional like markers on us, and that it has this sort of electric, involuntary reaction. And so that electric involuntary is energy. So our responses and our reactions, our feelings in our body, and then what happens is we're like, whoa, what was that? What was that? Or these floods of emotions will come up or feelings. And then in our head, we're trying to figure out, I wonder where that came from. What was that? So when we go to the premise that that emotions are energy in motion, right? So it means that all of our emotions are just us being pinged, right, by these different energy forms, that they're invisible, that we have reactions to them, that they're known or unknown to us. It means that we have something much bigger to deal with, right? So I've been doing some playing around with different tarot reading and different energetic leaders, and what we're sort of looking at is how early does the energetic imprinting happen between mother and child. And a lot of the work is coming up that it's in vitro, that during the time that the baby is being held in the womb, any energetic reaction that the mother has is then imprinted and duplicated into the child's energy system. So as a mother, when we tense, when we react, when our heartbeat changes, the baby mimics this. And then after birth, you know, for the first 2 or 3 years, their entire survival depends on mimicking those adults in their world, whether it's mother, father, siblings, extended family that's living with you, caregivers. So whatever those energetic pulses are that are coming out of that other human being, those are patterned and duplicated within the baby, right? So it means that some of these traumas, we don't even know where they came from. Some of this stuff, we don't even have an idea where it is. And we can also have our own separate experiences, which means that we can fall out of a tree. We can have a parent pick us up and shake us. We can get hit by on our bicycle. We can have somebody say really, really hard, harsh words to us. We can have the scorn on a daily basis from a teacher, a caregiver, someone in the religious sect. You know, any of these actions or events that can come in will also add to our personal energetic reaction, right? So some of these are from physical events, and some of these are genetic, passed through the DNA replication system of the mother, and some of it is generational. And so what I mean by generational is what happens when you come from a house, you're born into a house that has high levels of anxiety, or high levels of fear, or high levels of distrust. And there are reasons for that. Maybe, you know, I can go up 3 or 4 levels, which is with the anxiety probably didn't start with my mom, it started with my grandmother. My grandmother had it because of something that happened to her. So how far up the lineage does this electric current shock of trauma go? So I'll give you an example. Let's say that you're, you know, by any chance, a loud, boisterous, full of energy child, right? And you come into a family of introverts who aren't comfortable talking about their feelings or even dealing with their feelings. They're stuffers. They stuff down things. They're controllers. And they're looking over their shoulder all the time about what are people going to think, and they're fear-based. So it means that every time you, as a child, try to have an exuberant experience, I love this card, where you sort of like have a lot of fun bursting out of something and making a discovery, what happens is that you encounter one or both of these, which are the King and Queen of Swords, where their control, their frowning, their inability to hold you sort of comes in and shuts it down. And so what happens is that whatever we're doing as children becomes not okay, and it has a certain traumatic reaction over and over again in the parent. Second example is, let's say that you're a creative, which means that everything creative, empath, sensitive, that you can feel and you react to everything around you, right? And again, you're feeling look at the depth of the red of the experience. She's touching the tree turns red where she is. And you come up on a parent, in this case a mother, who may have some of that inside of her, but she's very constricted, very linear, very analytical on the outside. This can go into the field of involved in medicine, involved in accounting, involved in situations where they're safe, where their emotions aren't being exploited, and you have this combination of the two. Then what happens is the parent doesn't understand why you have so many feelings. So when parts of this gets intense, our body reacts. So, when we need physical support, like how come I'm not getting what I need? And what I really need is guidance. Or when there's fear in the house, and what the child really needs, or the teen or the adult really needs, is acceptance and encouragement. Or when there are verbal assaults, things that are said that are designed to shut up, to stop, to freeze, to diminish. What happens when you need empowerment or trust? And so trauma is embedded in us. And I'm saying that now is the time to notice it, identify it, pull it up, and let it go. And there's some very specific reasons for that. And I'm trying to pull my notes off because it's easier for me to stick to the notes or I will wander. On Wednesday, May 26th, we have a very powerful full moon. In addition to that, we have a full lunar eclipse, which means a lot of intense feelings are going to start coming up, as you probably have noticed, the week before the moon to the week after, or most intensely 3 days before, 3 days after. There's also this pervasive issue that I'm seeing throughout Facebook from those of us who are emotionally, we have a lot of emotion in our body, we have a lot of empathic skills, is that there's this constant ringing of the ears. And it's not tinnitus. It is absolutely not something you need to go to the doctor about. What it is it's energetic agitation. And the Schumann resonance, I talked about this in the last couple of weeks, has been going up or down, and our systems are realigning. And this is going to intensify the electric currents going through your body, and it's going to bring up those same currents that feel like trauma. That's why we want to understand trauma right now, is that both the moon, this astrological stuff, and these electric currents on the planet are activating these traumas within us and saying, so what are you going to do about those? How are we going to go after those? So we're going to have to go find them. So number one, I have 4 tips for you today. Pay attention to everything. Sophie Segovia, I think it's Segovia, wrote a book called The Murmur of Bees. I just finished it last night, and it's fabulous. And it really talks about the empathic relationship between two brothers. And it's about listening carefully. Listen carefully and pay attention is what the main character says over and over and over again to his little brother. Because when you listen to life, it murmurs into your ears, into your heart, and into your gut. It tells you, ooh, there's another pulse. Ooh, there's another something. And if you pay attention to it, it's there. So you listen with your eyes, you listen with your body, you listen with your touch, you listen with every cell in your body. Okay, so you notice and you pay attention. When is it activated? What's going on? Oh, there it is again. There it is again. Second tip is, you can do this polarity exercise, and it's on one of my previous videos, and I'll go back and put that link into the comments and description so you can find it. I did it a few years ago. It's where we identify 2 spots in the room and we move back and forth between an emotion until our body starts to ping us consistently with that same kind of information. And we can use that in order to guide us, right? Number 3 is let the story, let the memory, let that information float up. It doesn't have to be deep and dark and painful. It doesn't have to say, I can't do this without the presence of a therapist. Now, I'm not diminishing huge traumas that are going to need someone to hold space for you. I'm talking about those little pings when they come up and something that's sort of tapping you on the shoulder. And so what we do is we don't need to unpack them. What we do is we start to treat them kind of like, oh man, I have a hair on my shirt. And we just pick it up and we go, well, that's odd. Or I got dog hair over here. Or I've got fluff, and we sort of pick it up and we remove it. Like, I don't need that in my system anymore. Doesn't mean you look at it and you go, oh, I remember this was so hard, or this was my mother's. So was my mother. Whatever it is, or my, or my child, or whatever that trauma is, we just simply pick it off and we go like, I just need to let that go. I need to remove these tension, these energy systems out of our body. And number 4, so we're going to need to do some really deep self-care during this time, because Casey Ford, who does a lot of moon work, and I'll put a link to her work in as well, she said that this week's going to be really intense. So you got to give yourself some space. You got to take space for yourself. You got to give space. You got to hold boundaries. Take some personal time, sleep, nap, get out in nature, walk, go touch trees. JCK did a presentation last week, and she's like, whatever you do on the full moon, get out and touch trees, talk to the trees, put your hands on them, lean against them, partner with them sometime during the 26th on the full moon. Also exercise. Hydrate, drink tons of water, because as these electric systems are being triggered and going through your body, water helps neutralize it. It helps bring things on, because what we're really doing is we're sort of going through our own little personal tower moments where all sorts of things, like, this has got all these little bodies flying off, kind of like that lint I was talking about. Oh, and there's that memory, and there's that memory, and there's that memory. So this is an intense week, so be kind to yourself. I'm available. You can always reach out to me. You can find me on DeniseDrydenCoaching.com. Have a good week. Have a good full moon, and I will see you on the other side. Take care.